Okay, everybody. Matt X here. Welcome back to the Poke Historian. This is the show where I just turn on the camera and I start squawking at you about whatever this crazy bird feels like squawking at you about. And it's now June. And usually when we get to around this time of year, what I've been liking to do is do one of my history of the Pokemon card market boom, market updates, and just kind of talk about everything that's happened in the last 6 months. So strap in and relax. We're going to discuss everything that's kind of happened since going back to, I think I did my last video for this around early December, late November. So yeah, it's been about 6 months. So where did we leave off with the story? Last time I did one of these market updates, we were entering the Pokemon fake market decline. And this was around the time when everybody thought that the Pokemon card market was going to crash. We were seeing some corrections on a lot of different products and a lot of different cards. This was around, like I said, November, December of 2025. And there was definitely some panic selling going on. We had just seen the release of Phantasmal Flames. A lot of people were very sour on that set when it first came out, which is, to me, still just kind of hilarious that there was such a negative aura around that set when it came out, being that that set has the best Charizard card really of all time. But yeah, we were in kind of a little bit of a correction period with Pokemon. And in hindsight, it turned out to be a very good time if you were going to pick up more cards and if you wanted to pick up some sealed product. From around that November-ish time to really kind of, I would say mid-January, it was really a great time to go ahead and get in on some positions on some things that you didn't have, and maybe even open some Pokemon cards for cheaper. So not a bad time in the hobby, and there was just so much negativity around it. Personally, I wasn't buying it. I was kind of rolling my eyes a little bit. I'm like, okay, it's around the winter months. Things are cooling off a little bit. Nothing can stay white hot forever. And then I was looking at Ascended Heroes coming out. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be a popular set. It's going to probably end up being comparable to Prismatic as far as popularity goes. So I didn't think this was going to last. Turns out I was correct, although I'll admit I could have easily been wrong. You never know what's going to happen, right? But turns out the market did start turning around back in January. First, we kind of saw it with sealed product. I would say sealed product kind of started creeping up, and then single cards started moving after that. Probably the biggest shocker to people, though, over the last, I'd say probably over the last 4 months, was just how much Phantasmal Flames came raging back. The boxes during this little correction period had gotten to around $220, $230. So still much higher than MSRP, but pretty reasonable considering what was in that set. And during the course of those months, the boxes are now, of course, moving up to $450, $455. So they really saw a dramatic increase there. And if you bought in around $220, $230, or even bought it at basically $300 a box, which is where I bought in because I bought in right when the set came out, you came out looking kind of smart. Now, whether you're actually smart or not, who knows? But the bottom line is you did pretty well. And it's just a reminder to always keep in mind that when a new set comes out, don't necessarily listen to what everybody else says. Look at it for yourself. Use your own knowledge in your head, your own experiences, and think to yourself, do I like this set or not? If you like it, pick it up. If you don't get it. So that's kind of what happened with Phantasmal, just the rise of pricing for both the single cards and the booster boxes and the other sealed products. And of course, also in the beginning of January, we got Ascended Heroes, which came out with a pretty positive reception, I would say. I wouldn't say it was out of control immediately when it came out. I remember when I went to Walmart on release day to get some Ascended Heroes, believe it or not, most of the people in line were there to get one piece. I'd say maybe only 30% of the people in line were actually there for any Pokemon, because this was still kind of a down period for Pokemon a little bit when Ascended Heroes came out. But the set was received very well and actually gained a lot of traction from initial release over the month of, well, I guess the end of January and most of February, and it became a titan, really, to the point where it's now, at least right now, probably one of the most popular Pokemon card sets of all time. I don't know if it's necessarily as good as people make it out to be. I think it's probably like a B plus set or something, but there's no doubts that it's become a very, very, very hyped set, and there's a lot of FOMO going on with it. I remember when the set first came out, I went to GameStop and I got a couple of ETBs for $100 each. And of course, now they're up to 180, and people thought $100 was too much for them at the time. And I kind of figured that wasn't going to last. And here we are on that too. It's interesting just to kind of see. It's like it's almost like you think that like a price is bad, and you're like, well, this is a bad price. How could it get any worse? And then the price actually does get worse. It's an interesting phenomenon, but I thought that $100 was too cheap for those elite trainer boxes, so I'm happy I got a couple in my collection. But that's kind of been what's going on with the Synod Heroes. It continues to be a big contender, a big hitter. Everyone loves it. It's basically impossible to find MSRP. The chase cards have been interesting too, because a lot of them came out at very high prices and they just kept going up. And I don't even know what's going on with that Pikachu card. I've never seen a card look so generic that has done so well. We'll see how that does over time. My gut tells me that Pikachu in the Forest card is not going to stand the test of time, but this video is going to be posted on the internet, so we'll see if I'm right or I'm wrong on that. Who knows? Gengar's been very popular. The Dragonite, of course, is my chase card I'm going to get at some point, but I haven't actually pulled the trigger on it. So, yeah, that's Ascended Heroes. And then what else happened this year? Then we had Perfect Order come out at the end of March, and that set might have been one of the most least popular Pokemon sets we've had in a while. However, even though it has not been received very well, and it is, at least in my opinion, a very weak set, the booster boxes are still way over MSRP. I mean, you're looking at like $220 a box right now, I think, which is wild for a set with so little to chase in there. There's a couple cards I like the Clefairy. I kind of like the Mega Zygarde, okay. But if this set had come out when Pokemon was kind of in its little recession around like 2022, it would have been very interesting to see how Perfect Order would have done. I think it would have. I don't think the set would have been liked like at all. I do think part of the reason Perfect Order has done well right now is just because when you do find something in stores, it's one of the only packs you'll actually find. So yeah, that's Perfect Order. It's kind of a dud, but even in this market, when things are booming so hot, a set that's a dud can do pretty well. And then we had Chaos Rising, and that came out back in May. Chaos Rising was interesting. I think people really underestimated that set. People were looking at that set pretty closely, like they were looking at the Japanese equivalent of it, Ninja Spinner, when Perfect Order came out. There was a lot of negativity around it. There was a lot of people thinking, okay, this is it. Pokemon's going to crash. 2 bad sets in a row. Look at this Chaos Rising set. There's not much in here. This is going to be bad. And I feel like some of that negativity from Perfect Order was unfairly spilling over into Chaos Rising, where it was creating the perception that Chaos Rising was going to be a worse set than it actually was. And lo and behold, that ended up being true, that the perception was incorrect with it, because as we got closer and closer to the release of Chaos Rising, people kind of started coming around to it and being like, hey, this is actually a pretty good set. Like the Greninja's really cool. We like the Xerneas, like the Ampharos, the Froakie, the Frogadier. There ended up being some pretty popular cards in there, and I think the set has really come out to be a hit, which I think is deserved, because I don't think it's the best set ever. I don't think it's quite as good as Phantasmal Flames, but I would say it's definitely not in the same level of lukewarmness that Perfect Order is. And I would say that Chaos Rising is probably like a C plus set. I would give it. I would give Perfect Order like a D minus, but I give Chaos Rising probably a C plus. It's been a cool set. I've opened some myself. I've had fun with it. I opened with my friends and family. We had a good time with it. I'm hoping I can get some more too. I still got some chase cards I'd like to try and pull, and I will be buying some of the cards I like as well. So that was Chaos Rising. And then other than that, y'all, if you stop and think about it, there really hasn't been that much drama like in the last 6 months. The only real drama has really been, oh my God, prices are up so high and Ascended Heroes is going crazy. Like, that's been about the extent of the drama. However, though, we did get something very recently that came out that did stir the pot of drama, and we'll talk about that real briefly. And of course, that is old PSA shutting its doors to its lower tier submissions, which has sent shockwaves across the community. I think a lot of people weren't expecting to see another PSA shutdown like we saw in COVID, but here we are. And I do think that's going to have some effects on things. I think maybe it's going to give some of the other grading companies a chance, as I talked about on my other video. And I'm also hoping that maybe some people just appreciate the fact that not every near mint card you have, you need to send a PSA. Sometimes you can just appreciate the cards as they are and just enjoy them, because it's always been my opinion that, grading is meant for, first and foremost, authentication. The main reason you want to authenticate something is because it's rare and it's valuable, and you want to create that trust that what you're selling is something that is legitimate, that people are comfortable buying. And I don't think you have as much trouble with that with the newer cards. It's more so for the very expensive older cards. But hey, people like to grade too. They love to get that 10 and get the big bucks they get from selling it. But yeah, I'm hoping maybe this PSA shutdown thing will kind of maybe correct some behaviors in the market as far as like the grading, gambling activities that have been going on, because that's what a lot of this grading stuff has really been. It's basically been another way to gamble. You send your card in, you hope and pray you get a 10, and if you get the 10, then you make big bucks and you can sell it online and like triple, quadruple your money. But that's really been kind of the only big drama that's gone on this year so far. Now we're only halfway through the year. We'll see how the second half goes. The 30th anniversary is going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see how that ends up playing out. As of right now, a lot of the cards are being leaked, and it seems that the hype towards the 30th anniversary has kind of chilled out a little bit. A lot of people, at least for the moment, aren't very impressed with a lot of the cards that are going to be in the set. And to be fair, we haven't seen them all yet, but that's been kind of interesting to see. So we'll see how that actually plays out when we actually get to the release of the set. I suspect we may see a destined rival situation where people are at the outset kind of not real excited about it, but then like once it actually comes out and people start looking at the cards, they'll appreciate them more and there will be more hype and things will continue to rise with that set. And I think the 30th anniversary set's going to do very well. And then after that, it's a big mystery. I don't know what's going to happen. And I will say this too, it does seem like there's been a little bit of a cooling in the market over like the last month or so. I've been hearing rumblings that a lot of people are kind of selling off their collections. I know I've certainly sold some things. And it seems like some people are potentially exiting the hobby because they're seeing how popular things have gotten and how high the prices have gotten. And either number one, they're scared and they want to get out, or number two, they're very happy with the gains they've made and now they're ready to kind of tap out and move on to something else. Even I've been thinking about, well, maybe you want to move on to like collecting something else for a little bit, because the barrier to entry to Pokemon is pretty high right now. I was thinking it might be even more fun just to kind of go pick up some Magic stuff for a while. Never leave Pokemon behind completely, obviously, but maybe just kind of shift gears a little bit and then enjoy the summer and just do some activities around town, maybe travel a little bit and enjoy life, because you never know what's going to happen. Anyways, I'm done ranting. That's the market update. Long story short, we've seen prices rise. We've seen Ascended Heroes go crazy, and PSA has shut its doors temporarily. Those are really like the big events of the year so far. And I guess you could also say like what was interesting was that the whole fake market crash ended up being fake. So that's it though. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to see more content like this, and let me know what you think, what you thought of the last 6 months. Have things been pretty wild for you? Is there any interesting pieces of our recent history that I didn't touch on? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video.